y'all, Miss Katie here with Heritage Ways. I'm glad you're here today. This is the first in a series of videos that I will call, Sharing Community. Going to just relax for a few minutes together and talk about a homemaker's resource that I hope you all are taking advantage of. And we will highlight some homemakers and some features of this resource and just talk about our community. Not talk about each other, that sounds, but just share community simply. And that's actually the tagline of the Journal newspaper. This is the newspaper written by and for homemakers. And today I want to tell you a little bit about one of the homemakers who writes for the Journal. Okay, Mr. Patient's leaving. Where are you going?
Hardware store. Try to get the ice maker going.
Try to get the ice maker going. Okay. Thank you. Love you.
Love you. Be back.
All right. Okay. So I want to tell you about a homemaker who writes for the Journal, and I have met in person, and she's just a sweetheart. All right. I considered calling this little series or segment, if you will, whatever you want to call it, playlist. I considered calling it Sip and Chat, but that didn't flow off the tongue very well. But grab yourself something to sip. I wanted to call it Porch Time or Porch Talk or something like that, but I'm not fixing to sit out on my porch here in Middle Tennessee in this weather. I just can't. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Look, y'all, I'm thankful for air conditioning. So we're just going to take advantage of the sun coming in the front windows, but we're not going to sit on the front porch. So maybe in the fall we can sit on the front porch together. But you drop a comment and let me know where you're sitting and what you're sipping, because I want to know where you're from and what are you sipping. Are you sipping hot coffee, iced coffee, hot tea, iced tea, cold tea, sweet tea, unsweet tea, lemonade, water? The Journal newspaper is the newspaper written by and for homemakers and homesteaders. Written by and for. I only write the first page, editorial, so to speak. This issue, so grab yours. You should have received it in the mail by now. It's been roughly 2 weeks since we mailed them. We mailed them the last week of July. And so you should have received it by now, but if not, don't panic and don't let us know yet. If you don't receive your Journal newspaper in the mail within a month, and I know that sounds like a long time, but sometimes the mail takes that long. I can't explain it, and it's not our fault, but it just does. So if you haven't received it by the end of August, then you certainly let Danny know, who is our subscription manager. And I will write her name, her email, her Journal email, contact information down in the description box. I'll also give other links and other emails that might interest you regarding the Journal. So the Journal is a newspaper that comes in your mailbox, and it is shipped worldwide. We send these newspapers all across the U.S., Canada. Right now it's going to the Netherlands as well. Hey, Dunya. We've sent to Australia and England. And so we are able to send anywhere international. These are sent out 6 times a year. So at the end, you will receive it every even month of the year. So February on through December. So every other month you will receive one. And if you don't receive it, like I said, you need to let us know, because sometimes we get them returned to us, or sometimes, it just gets lost in the mail. That's rare that happens, but let us know. All right, so the Journal is, like I said, this is volume 5, issue 1. This is August 2025. We're in our 5th year, and I'm so thankful for the Heritage Ways community of diligent homemakers who write and produce this issue, this publication. As we go along in these little chats each week, I will talk about different aspects of the newspaper. And my vision is that we're sitting down, kind of looking at it, you're grabbing your copy, and we're looking at it together, and just like as if we were on the porch or in the living room or the den or whatever together, or kitchen counter, kitchen table. We have a feature called News from Home, and since the beginning, that has been folks' favorite thing to read, News from Home. And what that is, any and all homemakers are encouraged to submit a little article. You don't have to be a writer by career or any kind of professional writer or anything like that. But if you've ever typed a post or a caption on Facebook or any kind of social media, or if you've ever written a letter, or that's the cat we hear behind us, you are welcome, and it's absolutely fine to submit a little article about what's going on from your home or your homestead. Folks love to read what's going on, and they especially like it when the same folks write. All right, Casey, he's got respiratory issues, so he's a little loud. Our oldest son says he sounds like a weed eater trying to start, so it's just part of our family and our environment, so I hope you won't mind that. Okay, I see you. All right, go on now. Go on so we can hear each other. All right. So any and all homemakers are encouraged to write, and folks love to read about what's going on in different regions of the world. Homemakers in California, on the border of Texas, in New England, in Canada, in the country of England. I mean, all over. We want to hear and share community simply. That's what we're doing with the News from Home, and we're doing it in print version. This publication, by the way, is not offered digitally on purpose because we want to get back to our roots. We want to get back to what makes us feel cozy inside. And quite frankly, I prefer holding newsprint and reading it. There's just something about it. It's something about it helps my eyesight. It's something different from looking at a screen when it comes to our physical response. So, folks like it when the same people write over and over. I have heard this from y'all. I have so many positive reviews about the newspaper. I've honestly never received a negative review. Now, we're open to constructive criticism, ideas, encouragement. We did have one lady who said she couldn't read it anymore because her eyesight was failing, and it's the standard newspaper size font. So unfortunately, she had to unsubscribe to the newspaper. That's really the only negative word I've heard about the newspaper, but we're always open to new ideas. So the News from Home is what we want to talk about today. And today's issue, or this month's issue, or this issue is we have a homemaker from Ohio who has written in. We have a homemaker from Texas who has written in. We usually have several, and it varies how many we have. We have one from North Carolina who has written in. We have one from Missouri. I love this, so many states. And that's it for this time. So we have those states represented in this issue. Past issues, we've had many states to write in. We usually have fewer ladies to submit News from Home in the summer because y'all are outside in the heat working in your gardens and canning, and I get that, and been there, done that. I'm not there in this year, but I get that. So today I want to talk about a sweet lady who writes in nearly every time. I think she writes every time, and her name is Whitney. And Whitney is from Ohio. She has sweet little girls, and two sweet little girls. And I'll tell you a sweet little story about Whitney because that's what these community chats are going to be about. They're going to be about sitting down and enjoying, or maybe you turn it on while you're washing the dishes, or just relaxing or doing some work or folding laundry. Whitney writes for the newspaper every time, and she lives on a farm, her husband's family farm in Ohio. And I especially like, and you tell me what you think in the description as you're looking through your copy of the journal, but I especially like the part when she was talking about 4-H projects and how 4-H had helped her, has helped her in the past. And with her permission, I'd like to read a section of what she has written to us. Of course, she starts, if you're not familiar with News from Home, she says, "Hi, friends." And then she starts in, "We've gone from a wet spring into a hot summer here in north central Ohio." And that's her opening sentence. And then she talks a little bit about what's been going on. It's very interesting. She's a great writer in the fact that she's just relaxed and telling what's going on in her homestead. And it's just like talking to a friend. She talks in the 4th paragraph about her 4-H past and things that she learned from 4-H, and the fact that she is now a judge at their county fair, a 4-H judge. Incidentally, this is something, I only took 4-H for the first, probably until I was about in the 5th grade. And I've got some 4-H ribbons to prove it. I never went up further because in my town, in my school, it wasn't really encouraged, I don't feel like. Now looking back on it, it wasn't really something that a lot of people did, so you just didn't do it. When we moved to Ohio in 2020, and then moved from Ohio this year in 2025, but the 5 years we were there, we learned a lot about 4-H and the importance in that rural area where we lived, and the impact that 4-H had on fairs there, state fairs. Most of the state fairs there in that area where we were 4-H students bringing their projects in, and that was all it was. If you weren't in 4-H, it wasn't for you. And so, you know, we learned a lot about the impact that 4-H has in that area. And we also learned that not only were there animals shown, which I guess I thought it was primarily that, I guess, but also there were booklets to lead the students through learning other things like crocheting or sewing or baking or what have you. And you completed this booklet, and it was this whole process to get to the point that you showed at the fair. And so that was very interesting for us to learn that just in recent years, and I respect that work that goes into that. Also, then there were 4-H judges. So there were the people that would judge they would look at the booklets that the student did, and they'd look at the project and the whole shebang. So here's what I want to read about Whitney's experience in 4-H, and then I want to tell you a sweet personal story to go along with this. So Whitney says, "Not being able to take animal projects as a kid, I took many family and consumer science book projects, many of which build life skills. And one project I'm judging this year is laundry, and I took it 20 years ago." So meaning she went through the booklet and did the project for the fair. And so I found this part interesting. She said, "I had to do laundry. For the booklet, I had to do laundry, I had to sort clothes, and I had to spot treat. It was all in the book that I had to complete. It was a really neat project looking back on it, but not so much fun when doing it though." Listen to this. She says, "I had to record the color of my lint and how certain colored textiles affect it. I had to learn all the little symbols we see on our clothing label tags and how our washing machine worked." And then she goes on to say, as an adult, her favorite projects I get to judge are the art projects. And she starts talking about the art projects and how creative the students are. So I just think that's fascinating, but I want to tell you a cute little story with her permission, or a sweet story. But I did not know Whitney in person, and of course, before we moved to Ohio, and even when we did move to Ohio. And so through a series of events, which is very interesting the way the Lord works, I feel like, but she started watching Heritage Ways YouTube, watching me on YouTube, and getting the newspaper. I don't remember which came first, whether she got the newspaper or started watching me on YouTube. But about, I guess it was 2 years ago, maybe now, in a July issue, I believe it was, I wrote about my mother and how on the front page, and I wrote about how, and I mentioned her name, and I wrote about how she was a home ec teacher, or she said, "Katie, it's called Family and Consumer Sciences." Whatever, Mama, it was home ec. Okay, I like the word home ec. And so she taught both in Tennessee and in Ohio once she and Daddy moved back to Ohio. in 2002, I believe it was, or 2001. And so she taught there. Well, I had written about Mama and how she had taught in school and taught me, and I mentioned her name, and it was then that sweet Whitney contacted me and said, "Are you Miss Morgan's daughter?" And she put two and two together, and she said to me the sweetest thing that I just hold on to because I just felt it so precious. And she said to me in the message, she said, "I started watching you and following you, Miss Katie, because you reminded me of one of my favorite teachers in school, Miss Morgan." And she said, "I had no earthly idea that that was your mother." There's no way she could have connected the two. And I thought, I think that's such a sweet story, especially now that my mom has passed on. So I have had Whitney. Whitney's attended one of my classes, my cast iron classes in Ohio. And she says she's learned a lot. I'm so thankful for that. And I think Mama would be proud that we've connected. But Whitney was a very active student in Mama's Family and Consumer Science class and did all the, did the projects and went on trips and all this kind of thing with Mama and her class. And so Whitney was able to tell me in person some of the impact that Mama had as a home ec teacher. And so then as we were having my aunt had a going away party for us when we moved from Ohio. In another interesting situation, my aunt is really good friends with Whitney's a relative. Her father-in-law just remarried and married one of my aunt's good friends. So anyway, through a connection, I was able to see Whitney again in person before we left and meet her two sweet daughters. And here we are at that event, that little fellowship. So I now know Whitney in person. I hope that in some way that I'm able to carry on I'm able to help and encourage her, pick up where Mama might have left off maybe. And so that makes it special to me that Whitney is writing for the journal. So that's my little chat for today. And if you're interested in subscribing to the journal, I do feel like if you're not subscribed, I've had people say, "Where has this been? How have I not known about this?" So I will give you a link down below where you can just click on that and subscribe to the journal. And you can also, I'll give you another link down in the description box where it's going to tell you the mailing dates, and you'll know exactly when you're going to get your next one, when the next one's mailed out rather, and all the frequently asked questions. And so I hope that you are enjoying your August 2025 issue of the journal, and you will look through the news from home. Remember, please drop a comment down below. Tell me something you love about the journal. Remember to tell me where you're sitting today, whether it's on your porch or in your cool den in front of the air conditioning or out in your garden, and what you're sipping today. But more than that, I hope you count your blessings, because counting your blessings is going to help you get through day to day. I promise. It helps me to get day by day to look up and count my blessings instead of just looking down and moping. So I'm Miss Katie with Heritage Ways. Make sure you visit me at heritageways.com, and I will see you again soon.